What's up, guys? It is JZNES back again with another video. Today we are talking about The Legend of Zelda, the Minish cap, the Game Boy Advance Legend of Zelda game. Of course, there was the Link to the Past and Four Swords game on Game Boy Advance as well, and I did play those back in the day. But Minish Cap was another one that I really enjoyed back in the day. You know, and it's also the last of the Capcom Zeldas, so that's pretty cool. And a lot of similarities do exist between this game and the previous two games. And it's actually almost maybe kind of like that third game that we never really got, because, you know, green and the theme is kind of green, it's Minish Cap and all that. You know, it's like, yeah, like the letters are green. It's like, okay, maybe this is like the Pharaoh game we never got, or whatever, however you pronounce that, the third goddess or whatever. And they all do make an appearance in this game for a little side quest there, which is kind of interesting. So what do I think about this game? Like, is it a seasons or is it an ages? You know, like, is it which end of the extreme is it? And for me, it's kind of somewhere in between. You know, it's a game with a lot of good things going on with it, but you know, there's some, not some negatives really, but like just a few things that kind of bother me. But on the whole, it's more similar to a Seasons, you know, where the game has a lot of good things going for it, and rather than me saying that it's bad or that there's serious flaws, because really at the end of the day there's not that many serious flaws. Let's take a look at the notes here. Let's see what we have for that. So initially my reaction to this game, especially coming off of Ages, was very positive. So the opening is very good. I said, holy shit, right off the bat, Zelda's Lullaby straight from Ocarina, and it sounds pretty damn accurate for the GBA. Yeah, so they have Zelda's Lullaby in here, in the opening cutscene, and it sounds really good. It's actually, for GBA, it's like, wow, this is very accurate, you know? I like this. This is good. Like, holy shit. Also, Zelda's laugh sounds exactly like those previous games on the N64. It's just really hella impressive, I said. So, yeah, they have a lot of voices in this game that are from other games. Actually, Vati's laugh is the mask salesman's laugh from Majora's Mask, and so that's kind of unsettling. Like, they have, like, you know, they have, like, the postman, like, ah! You know, he's, like, one of the guards does that or whatever. He's in there, too. The postman's in there, but I don't know if he sounds like that or whatever, but they just have little voice clips like that and stuff, so that's all really cool. That's interesting. That's neat that they did that. And I was freaking out because in the opening, I'm like, Beatles in this game, you know, like, finally we're in the era of, like, the Wind Waker games influencing the newer Zelda games, so now Beatles kind of a reference to everything, you know, like, they make him and they put him in games and stuff, and I think that's really cool. So, and he's a seller in this game. He'll sell you, like, these, I don't know what they are. There's something in a bottle. It's kind of like potions or whatever, like, the equivalent of that. Even though there are, like, potions and shit in the game, but, like, yeah. So, and Zelda/Link's relationship here is brilliant, simple. Oh, here, and then it goes to the next page. And waste no time establishing their bond as childhood friends. Within 10 minutes, I'm invested in her as a character, and her winning the shield for Link is just perfect. She turns down a heart piece and a giant rupee so Link can be happy. Eat your heart piece out, Skyward Sword. Nice. I like that last part. Anyway, so yeah, there's like this... the opening is very good, and maybe it's a little slow for some people, but I like them establishing all of this, and I think the game could have definitely used an aspect of storytelling like that in other sections of the game, which it does not have. Dialogue is mostly just spoken between characters or whatever, but in this case it was very visual, and they really set it up very well. Zelda's character was very well established, but then she gets frozen and you don't see her for the rest of the game until the ending, which, I mean, typical Zelda game, but like damn, like, that was my point about Skyward Sword, is that, like, that Zelda's kind of boring. This Zelda, like, I care about. I think, oh, wow, cool. She's Link's childhood friend, and that's kind of a thing. Like, they've already got some established chemistry and history there and stuff, and I like that. I got to see that play out, you know, and I thought that was really cool, so. And then I said the animation and Link's eye flourishes, like when he wakes up or whatever, are vibrant and impressive. Which I agree with. Some of the animation in this game is pretty cool, and they've got some like Mode 7 effects that are like definitely beyond Super Nintendo, and I think is some pretty good stuff overall. I think visually the game is very enjoyable as well. It's very distinct. There's different areas, and all the enemies look really colorful. You know, on the Game Boy Color, sometimes you couldn't necessarily tell what things were, or even on the N64, like Ocarina of Time and shit. Like, those games look great, but, like, you know, they look great for their time. They can look great in a modern setting if you're willing to, like, know the history. That, like, Ocarina of Time looks a little rough in places. I would say Majora's Mask holds up a lot better in that regard. But, I still think they both look really good, considering. You know, I still think they hold up well, but people would argue that kind of thing. Now, this kind of game, I don't think there's really an argument to be had. It still holds up really visually well because it just looks really great. I just realized I still have this on 1.5 speed from earlier. Oh my god. I'm so stupid. Okay, how did I not realize that till just now? So yeah, and you can hear, like, the music is, like, renditions of older Zelda tunes, you know, like, this is, the house theme from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and stuff, and that's cool, you know, like, it plays in the inn and stuff in Majora's Mask. And they have characters like Anju, who, in this, I think, yeah, that is her name in this game, even though that's the Majora's Mask character, which is funny, because that's how she's known more so. But also, you know, she's just the cuckoo lady or whatever in Ocarina of Time. But she even has like a little side quest or mini game, we'll say, in this game, where you go and collect the cuckoos, which is cool. And there's a time limit behind it, so it's like kind of a tricky one to do. But eventually you'll get like a heart piece for doing that. And this game is very heavily like heart piece. Like, there's a lot of mini games and like little extra side content. I think that's cool. It definitely is the Majora's Mask of the fucking Game Boy Advance, like the Capcom Zeldas, let's say. A vast improvement on their two previous games, and also lots of side content. You know, there's only 5 dungeons in this game. 5 or 6, I'm not sure. I know there was 5 main dungeons in the game. And I think those have a heart piece each, so it's like, or a heart each, and then you get a heart piece in there. So like, let's say there's like 6 overall hearts that you're probably gonna get through the main part of the game. And the rest of it's just hidden, you know? It's just all out there in the world for you to go discover, a lot like Majora's Mask. And in this case, it's behind mini games or behind secret doors or places that you need to explore and get to. And I think that's cool. I like that. That's nice. I like that. That's you know, like the witch theme. Actually, this is from Link's Awakening initially, right? Or did they have this in? I'm pretty sure this is from Link's Awakening initially. I don't think this is in Link to the Past. I don't know. Maybe it is, but for me, I remember it from Link's Awakening. Anyway, that's cool. I didn't even remember this remix. Like the music is like I probably said this already, but it's really good, and it's you know, overall a lot of familiar tunes, but a lot of new tunes as well that do fill in. Now, in terms of like a Zelda soundtrack, it's probably like mid-tier stuff, but like, you know, some Zelda games have like the most iconic soundtracks of all time, like fucking Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and stuff. But you know, it is what it is. A pretty solid soundtrack, we'll say, overall, and animation and stuff's all really good. So we got that out of the way. Like, how how's the side content like I was talking about? Well, so they do an interesting little new thing in this game. It's a thing called kinstones. Now, these kinstones you discover throughout the world. They're in treasure chests. They're little hidden in dungeons and shit. You get them from doing things for people. Sometimes, well, okay, so I'll get that in a second. You can get off of enemies and stuff sometimes. Sometimes they're just kind of hidden in the world. You get these things everywhere, and then, so what do you do with them? You take them to people. Pretty much every character in the game you could take these to, and if they have like a little thought bubble above their head, it'll tell you kind of what your reward's going to be. And you can fuse kinstones with them, and they have like the jaggedy edges that you can like put together. If you put together the right pieces, something will happen in the world. A treasure chest will appear, a pathway will open. In certain particular cases, when you get the gold ones, it'll actually open a story relevant pathway or whatnot. So you have to find these kinstones throughout the... You don't have to, but you can find these kinstones throughout the world, and then sometimes when you fuse kinstones, it'll just lead to another kinstone. But you can buy them from places. You can do all sorts of things to get these kinstones, but you fuse them with pretty much everyone in the game, and it'll give you different little rewards. And I think all that side content is really nice, especially when they're charging you like $600 to upgrade your fucking... or 600 rupees, that is, to upgrade your fucking bomb bag and quiver and shit to the better versions. I think at that rate, sure, yeah, like, you're gonna need to give me some rupee rewards. And the game is very generous with rupees. A lot of the times, especially after I got the big wallet, I would constantly be like almost full or full on rupees, or like really high up there. So yeah, I mean, you do need them in the game, but like I think it was a little overkill how much they gave me, and I guess I didn't necessarily go and buy like every single thing, but I bought all the main upgrades and whatnot. It's a little devious. They actually have to sell you the boomerang, because it is a pretty useful item, especially when killing the bubbles and whatnot. But hey, I prefer it to Age's way of hiding the boomerang until the 6th dungeon or whatever. I think that's pretty stupid. So, but this game didn't do that. They let you buy it almost right up front, which is very generous and very good. Not that there's that many bubble enemies in the game, but there are some, and they do come in handy, and they are placed strategically to give you fairies when you definitely need them. Which is something that I can definitely get behind. And especially in the final dungeon, they do that. They actually have like a line of like 5 of them. So like, I mean, I guess I didn't even think about it really, but it's funny. And you can leave and then come back in and they'll still be there again. So that's really nice. You can just farm as many as you need, kind of thing. So that's really good. And I like that. And I definitely appreciate that. They give you like 6 bottles in this game. I never got 6 bottles, but I know there are like 6 of them through some side content and whatnot. And there's just some really involved, like, side quests and stuff, like, you know, go fuse this kinstone with this guy, and then this thing will happen, and then, like, there's this one where, like, all these Gorons, you have to fuse with, like, 4 different people, so these Gorons will come, probably more, actually, so these Gorons will come and, like, open this path so that you can get a thing, you eventually get an empty bottle, and then after that you can go talk to this big Goron to make you the mirror shield. It's like a whole big thing. Shit, I bet there was like a sword upgrade that I never got or something. No, well, maybe not, because they constantly are upgrading your sword throughout the game. It would make sense though, because your like uncle or whoever's like a blacksmith or whatnot. So, but yeah, like, so you're constantly getting these sword upgrades throughout the game. Whenever you get an element, they call them, basically from each dungeon. So then you go like back to the castle and you like upgrade your sword. And then there's also an aspect of this game where you have these copies of yourself, like in 4 Swords or whatever. It's very related to 4 Swords and that kind of side series that I'm not really going to be getting into because I'd want to play 4 Swords, the original, on the GBA there. And I don't have the version on the 3DS or whatever where you can just play it by yourself. So maybe someday, and then I'll get to Adventures or whatnot on the GameCube. But we'll do those like other Zelda games maybe someday. That'd be kind of interesting. But, you know, it'll be a little bit until then. So we're not covering those for this marathon. But they have an aspect like that in this game. So they'll have these little spaces that you can stand on, charge your sword, which is tedious. They needed an upgrade in the game. Maybe they have it. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't get it. But an upgrade where your sword charges faster. I do believe that was one of the scrolls that I didn't get from like the scroll guys. There's these like gurus basically where you go and get these scrolls and you learn a new like a charged, you know, circly attack and you know, like the sword beam and all that kind of stuff. You learn those from these guys that are kind of just hidden around the world, which is pretty cool. And if you get all the tiger scrolls, like something happens. I don't remember exactly what it is, but so that's another side content, you know, aside from like heart pieces, and you're looking around for your kinstones and all sorts of stuff. There's so much side content in this game, and you can get mysterious shells, which are like this guy like makes these figurines, and you have like a random chance to get a figurine you don't have, essentially. And so it's kind of like opening Yu-Gi-Oh packs or something, you know, like card game bullshit. You know, is this gambling? Is this why they didn't, you know, they haven't remade Minish Cap yet? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but basically the system works like this, you know, and I figured this out through safe stating and whatnot. Basically at the start you get like 90%, you know, almost all the time, and you just put one shell in and you know, you're good to go, and you'll always be getting a new one, but the percentages keep going down and down and down and down. I got to personally like 53% or whatever, and yeah, so I did do this shit back in the day on the fucking real Game Boy Advance. I don't know why I was so insane to have done this back then. I really did like this game back then. I do remember just loving this game and like having a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of secrets and stuff I just like would try to find and do on my own and stuff. And I didn't even have the guide or anything back then. Like this is you know, I definitely had a good time with it back then, and yeah, I do remember playing it just a lot. Maybe when I was like in 6th or 7th grade or something. I probably was like 6th grade, I believe. You know, relatively around when it came out. I played a lot of it. So, yeah, it was one of the games that I did have back then, and I did really like to play. So, but anyway, yeah, I have some good memories of playing it back then and whatnot, and like showing people the game. But yeah, so there's a lot of side content, and that's good. And and then there's the gimmick of the game. You have these stumps and these jars and a bunch of things that like you can flip upside down, or you just jump onto. You get a rod later in the second dungeon that like lets you flip stuff upside down, so you can flip these jars upside down and jump into them in the town, and then turn yourself small into a mini Link, and basically he's like really tiny. So and there's these Minish people. They're like really tiny elven people who are all around the world, and so you have the main world, and then you have a smaller world that you can get to by turning yourself small. And unlike Ages, where it's really confusing, the second world gimmick, this is actually really well implemented into the game. It's not only well implemented into like the overworld and the towns and stuff, and it helps you solve stuff, and it doesn't make you think like way too hard about like, okay, I need to be small here. It's like it's all pretty understandable, whereas like Ages was really complicated and all that. But so yeah, it's like actually like very straightforward for the most part. You know, sometimes you have to kind of figure it out, which is nice. I don't mind that. I just don't like it when it's like way too complicated. Like, you know, you gotta have some balance there, and this game definitely has that. I think that the Minish gimmick makes your world that you already have more depth to it, and I definitely at least appreciate the concept of that. and seeing these like small areas, like the tiny little stretches of area be like this massive thing when you're small is like really cool, and just it's a good idea, and it's a unique gimmick for a Zelda game, and I definitely did appreciate that. So you kind of have to feel out how to get around when you're small, and you have limited things that you can do. Like a puddle might be too big for you to swim in, but you know, when you have the flippers, that is. But like when you're bigger, you can just like step through it, kind of thing. It's like stuff like that, and it's just like it adds a unique layer to the game, and it makes you really be thinking about the world and seeing things like little strips of like wall where you can be like, oh, I can probably get up there or whatever, but how do I get up there, and what do I do, and which item do I need, and this kind of stuff. So you're always constantly thinking about the world, and as soon as you get a new item, you're always thinking, because there's only 5 dungeons, like I said, so you know, with each new item, it's like Metroidvania. You're putting together in your head, like, where can I use this in the overworld to solve a new problem, or like what has changed since the last dungeon, like who's somewhere else, or who's gonna want to fuse kinstones now that didn't want to before, or whatnot, or like I saw this person on the way to the dungeon that like helped me like figure out a thing. It's somewhere else in the world or something. It's really an interconnected world, and it's dense with content, and I do really appreciate that as a whole. You know, but like the rewards aren't always like super helpful either. Like I said, you pretty much don't have to worry about rupees in this game for the most part, and especially like later on, you're gonna have a lot of rupees. So like when I go out and I find these golden beasts, and I'm like, oh shit, is this part of a sword quest or something? You know, like it was in Ages, or sorry, not Ages, Seasons there. And then I just find out, no, they're just worth rupees, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. You know, like I fought these enemies out in the world, and they're just worth rupees. But a lot of times it'll lead you to like a heart piece or a new area or something, and that you can get like a little reward for, or new kinstones or something. I guess there's just really not that much in terms of like super helpful collectibles. It's mostly just you get kinstones, you get rupees, and the heart pieces are helpful, but getting them all is just a pain. Actually, to get all of the heart pieces, you technically have to complete that figure side quest, because it'll then lead you to a heart piece inside this building that you can't get to without. And completing that thing, I think I got sidetracked talking about that, but completing that thing is a nightmare, because every time you spend you get a new figure, the percentages of you getting a new figure go down, and it makes it harder. And so spending one shell is often the best way to do it, because you spend your one shell, and it's really like a paywall, because you spend your one shell, and you can see through emulation if you save state that after you've figured out if it's a new shell or not, or I mean a new figure or not. If it's a new figure, you just, okay, cool, and then you save state that because you want to have that new figure. But if not, you realize you load back and you're like, all right, well, how much does it take for me to have a new figure? Because if you raise that by one shell, it's going to be the same figure, the same one you already had, and it'll be the exact same one. And so it's predetermined what figure you're going to get, unless you pay more. And now this is where it just becomes a problem, because while I had 999 mysterious shells, because I didn't find that guy until the end of the game, because I totally fucking didn't care, because I know I've done that shit before and it was a big ass hassle. While that's a thing, I could have wasted all of those, but you're better off just wasting one shell and getting the same old bullshit figurine, or just reloading or whatever, rather than, and then just wasting another shell, and then just hoping that you're going to get a new figurine, because the chances of you have to literally put all of your shells in, and what my bottom was at 50%. That's where I started. That was my base like thing. It was like 53% or something probability, which is bullshit. That's not what it means at all. But basically, I had to raise that all the way up to like 90-something% to even get a new figurine. And I tried that, all like the intervals in between, because you would always get that same exact figurine, meaning that it's a paywall. So you're better off just spending one shell at a time. You have 999 chances. There's 130 figurines. You're probably going to get all of the figurines. Or near the end, when you're really struggling and you're at like 20% probability, you throw a bunch of shells in there to complete your collection. But since it's predetermined, and especially if you have save states, then you might as well just like go for it. Like let's you might as well just try, because like, and especially if you don't have save states, you might as well just try the one, because it's like, you're gonna waste a bunch of shells and then thus waste a bunch of rupees, which are easily obtainable, but you can buy 30 shells for like 200 rupees. It's such a ripoff. But shells are kind of rare in the game. I mean, if you're not like if you waste them all, or no, spend them all, not waste them all, but. And this is all for like one heart piece and some rupees and like the sound test thing for the game. And that's your reward for doing this like epically fucking long side quest. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's like figurines of all the characters in the game, and I think that's cool. And I do really think that the characters in the game are pretty good for like a Game Boy Advance like Zelda game. They're all kind of memorable, and a lot of them are, like I said, characters from previous Zelda games and references and whatnot. And Tingle is in the game, and all of his brothers and whatever, and so they'll help you out a little bit too. Those are pretty cool to go around and find them and whatnot. So yeah, so the characters in this game are pretty cool. So getting figurines of them is kind of cool, but it's just like a really big thing to really accomplish. But it does add another level of like, okay, so I went and did this thing and I found mysterious shells. Okay, now I can go to the figurine guy. So it's another collectible, so it does kind of help in a sense. It's just kind of a bullshit side quest because it's not really about probability. It's about paying shells or just like suffering and wasting a bunch of time. So yeah. Let's talk about the items. There's some cool new items in this game that are definitely pretty memorable, and they actually show up in later Zelda games and stuff, like the Gust Jar. I think, was that in Wind Waker? I don't know if that was in Wind Waker, but it definitely shows up again in like Skyward Sword and maybe Twilight Princess. I'm not sure if it's in Twilight Princess, but I think it might be in Wind Waker. I don't know, but anyway, that's a big item in this game that you can like suck stuff in and blow away stuff, and so that's pretty cool. You get that one like in the first dungeon, so, and it helps you like navigate. Like you can be on top of like a leaf or something, and like you can make some energy so you can like go in a certain direction and stuff. It's cool. It's neat. Yeah, and then you get the bow. I don't know if that's in a dungeon. The bow, you got that. You got the boomerang and stuff. What was the second dungeon one? I'm trying to think. Now that I'm like here. Another good memorable one though was the mitts, like the claws or whatever. There's like spaces in the wall that you see all around the world. Like before you go into like the third dungeon or whatever, you get those. And you're like, how do I get into these? Is this just like a kinstone thing or whatever? But no, it actually turns out there's an item where there are these mitts, and then you like dig into the wall or whatever, and then there's like a whole area in there. They have like all these dig throughable walls, and like you literally the only tedious part about it is you literally have to dig through like every square of them sometimes to like find some like secrets or treasure chests or stuff. But I think they're overall a cool power up is like a digging through the wall kind of thing. That was a unique idea. I think that's pretty cool. Oh, you get the Pegasus boots as well, but that's not from a dungeon. You just like this shoe guy makes them. They did the whole cobbler and the shoe thing. Like the Minish are actually making the shoes for him as he goes to sleep and he wakes up or whatever. That's kind of funny, little good reference there. So you get those. That's pretty cool. And then, yeah, what are the other items? I'm trying to think. Because I know I'm forgetting a few that I'm just not thinking of. You get an ocarina that lets you, like, travel between locations. Like, you open up these stones and it says, like, oh, once you get the wind thing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what does this mean? And then after you get it, it's like, oh, you get to fast travel. That's cool. Okay, here we go. Oh, like the cane. Yeah, that's the one I was forgetting, that I mentioned earlier. And then you get the lantern, which is in a dungeon, which is kind of strange. But it has a few uses. It has all the typical uses. You just light torches and stuff. And they make a lot of rooms dark on purpose, so you have to like use the lantern to get through. But also, it can there's like Gibdos in the game or whatever that like latch onto you, and you can use the thing to burn them to make them like regular skeletons. That's pretty cool. You get the Rock's Cape, which was a thing from Seasons or Ages. It was in one of the previous games. You don't even get the Rock's Feather, but you get the Rock's Cape in the last dungeon there, so that's pretty cool, and it'll let you glide around and stuff. They do a few cool things with that. And of course, the bombs and the arrows. But, like, I don't know if you can see that, but, like, the item roster is not terribly much. You know, there's not a lot. Oh, you get, like, the power bracelets and stuff. And the flippers, but those are all like a few things in the overworld there. Yeah, like, you know, that's there's not much going on, but I don't mind that. I think it's better that like you don't have a bunch of just random shit that you like never use, like the ball and chain or whatever in Twilight Princess. So that's pretty cool, and I like that. I think we've got. Like, the game is short, quote unquote. You know, it can be short in a sense, without all the side content or whatever. If you just kind of rush for the finish line, it's pretty short. But, yeah, like, that's why I think, like, the list, the small amount of items there is actually, like, a good thing. It's a pretty compact Zelda. There's not a lot of, like, bullshit like, oh, we gotta go and here do this thing, blah, blah. It's pretty straightforward. You just go, and you have the hat, who is a hint system, and I like that. He always tells you what you need to be doing if you ask him. The only one thing I don't like about that is the button there. There's no map button anymore like they had in the previous games, and that really sucks because that was such a handy feature. I almost wish you would have had to have just gone into the menu to ask the hat about things rather than having to go into the menu and go from your items to go over to the map. And it's really tedious to do that. I really wish there was a map button, and that would have been a really nice thing, but they didn't do that. Also, rolling. You can roll in this game, and that's pretty cool. It'll get you around faster, you know, like it did in the 3D games and whatnot. That's pretty neat. I like that a lot. Yeah. Talked about the hearts and the tiger scrolls and the mysterious shells. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in like that in this game, and So let's talk about the dungeons. I think they're all pretty straightforward, and sometimes they get a little like not really. It's not really where do I need to go. It's like what do I need to do. You know, there's a little bit of where do I need to go, but it's really not that bad. Like compared to Seasons and Ages, like it's very straightforward. It's really more about figuring out the puzzles, and that's what I like. You know. There's a little bit of non-linearity, and you can go off the beaten path a little bit, but it always kind of has a very understandable layout to their dungeons, and I think maybe that was just Capcom being more experienced, and also just learning better dungeon design. You know, from making the previous two games, they thought, okay, here's kind of what we can do better for dungeon design. You know, they learned from what they did. Yeah, so it's pretty. That's pretty much it. I think in terms of all that, the dungeons are good. I like them for the most part. Are they like the greatest Zelda dungeons ever? Like, man. Not necessarily, but they're not terrible. They're pretty good, you know? I think they're solid. I think they're all really solid. None of them are, like, super annoying that I can remember. So, yeah, like, really pretty good overall. You can see here's, like, the world map. It looks a lot bigger than it really is. It's really pretty small. And it's more about the density of the world, opening things up through kinstones and opening things up through new items and whatnot. And that's really what I like. That's the kind of Zelda I like, is when the world is easy to traverse, and but you can still find lots of secrets in it. I think that's great. You don't have to overdo it, you know. Breath of the Wild, you know, fucking make me spend 3 hours walking across the map. Not that you would do that. There's obviously lots of fast travel points and whatnot in that game. But I'm just saying, like, you know, we don't necessarily need Breath of the Wild style areas where there's gigantic areas. It's like, no, unless that's all going to be like filled with densely really important stuff that's not 999 Korok seeds or whatever, or however many there are. There's like 900 of them or something, right? Like, it's a lot. So I commend this game for having a dense world that like actually means something and is fun to explore and fun to revisit and try to figure out how to find new areas in and new secrets in and whatnot. It's always like you're always remembering puzzles that you like left half done because you couldn't finish it at the time, and then you're like, oh, now I have that thing where I can make 4 of myself to like push that big boulder, and that's super helpful or whatever. Stuff like that. So lots of good side content, and I think that's really important to the game as well, and it helps with the density of the world and the secrets that you can find throughout the world. I think all of that's really significant, and it all really helps the game a lot. You know, you had a decent amount of side content in Seasons and Ages, but this really feels like a whole nother level of that. You definitely are going to get your time's worth if you want to do everything. And it's going to be a lot to do everything, you know, and I didn't do everything, you know, to be fair, but I did do that, like, back in the day, I believe, like, most of everything back then, so I kind of know how it plays out, and I do appreciate a lot of the content where it's like, you couldn't get to this area before, but now you can, because, you know, this thing happened, or this thing happened, and I just think that's cool, or now you have this item, or something, you know, like, when you get the flippers, like, the world just opens up even more, you know, and it's just great, and you don't have to worry about that, and it's like, You know, because before it was like the water was your enemy and it was everywhere, and it's like, oh, shit, when am I gonna get the flippers so I can just go through this area? And then you get the flippers and it's like, oh, okay, cool, now I can explore the rest of this this stuff here. So it's just it's good, it's fun, it's a lot of handy, good shit, you know. So yeah, but I guess like the one thing is like, in the very final dungeon, and like I think maybe like even a little bit before that, they have these like night enemies that take like forever to kill or whatever. And look at the final dungeon, there was this part where you have to kill like 3 of them all together, and like a thing before that, and it's all being timed, which I didn't know. But then as soon as I killed them and I like went up the stairs or whatever, it's like, nah, I win, and it's like game over, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? Is there a time limit? You're not showing me the time limit, like what the hell? So like I had to like redo that part or whatever. But that's just kind of silly, and especially those enemies, there's like probably like 20 of them in just like the final dungeon alone, and it's just like, god damn. And they take forever to kill because you have to like jump behind them and wait for them to attack and stuff. You know, it's not like Wind Waker where you can just like do your little dodge thing and then attack them. It's like they take forever to kill, man. And so you just are, it gets a little tedious at the end there, is what I'm trying to say. But I did think like the bosses and like the final boss especially was pretty cool, where they like utilized the 4-sword thing really well. They utilized like pretty much every item in the final boss, and I think this game is really good at like utilizing its items and whatnot, and making like cool things to fight, and cool like little mini bosses and whatnot. So yeah, I do really like them, and the final boss was cool, and especially how you had to become small for the final boss, which was actually a gimmick from a previous boss. You even used the rod to like flip his hands upside down or whatever, and then you would go and turn small, and then you would go inside of him. This is like the later form. There's even like an earlier form of that same boss. He's like got 3 things, then you fight another thing like later on, and it's like, so you do that part, and then you like have to multiply yourself while all of this stuff is like around you, like he's firing shit at you, and it gets a little much, but like it's definitely cool and interesting, and I do appreciate that, and I like that. I like the boss before that too, where you're like kind of jumping onto the things, and you have to jump back to the main stingray guy. They're all like flying in the sky or whatever, so it's like it's a good use of the rock cape in that item. So yeah, I think they're just like really unique and well done like bosses overall. Like I don't have too much to complain about with this game. It's just little nitpicky things, and just the fact that it's not like the best Zelda game ever, but certainly nowhere near the worst. It is a great Zelda game, or at least a solid Zelda game. It's just not as like groundbreaking or awesome as like some of the other Zelda games, and you know, personally I would prefer like a Oracle of Seasons, but this game definitely is good though, and that's what it really comes down to. I mean, it's got good music, good design, good aesthetic, good gameplay, I would say, is pretty good, and all the items are cool, the bosses are cool, there's just like the density and secrets in the world, that's all really great and well implemented. There's a lot of extra side content. I think all that's really cool, and it's short if you want it to be with just the 5 dungeons, because I feel like some Zelda games kind of overstay their welcome. You know, like 8 dungeons is a lot, especially if you do a few dungeons before that. It kind of gets to be a lot sometimes, but this game just kind of got in and got out, and that's kind of what it's that's what it's about, you know. So that's its thing. Like in terms of story, I guess it could have been a little bit better. I think that there was some missed potential, perhaps, based on what I saw at the beginning, which was a really strong opening, and then the story just kind of takes a back seat for the most part. You get a few lore bits at the end, but like it's really not a lot going on. Not a lot of character to Link and Zelda and all of that. Like with the thing you were developing at the beginning, you did so good with, and you just kind of sidelined it for the rest of the game. I thought that was kind of weak overall, but I don't know. I don't really know how they could have fixed that, but it just seemed like a little bit of a thing, you know, like not like maybe like a misstep, you know, not like oh, this is a flaw with the game or something. It was like, yeah, you know, the story could have been a little better. That's a little bit of a thing. So, yeah, but overall, I think it's like a good Zelda game and really solid. And it's got a lot of good things going for it, and I think the Minish idea, you know, the shrinking down and that sort of second world within your own first world, you know, like it's still the same world, but you're seeing it from a different perspective, and I think that's really cool. And hiding secrets that way is just really awesome. So yeah, really down with that, and overall, the game's pretty solid. I enjoyed it. But I don't know if I put it like in my top 5 Zeldas. It's definitely make the top 10. You know, there's like 15 Zeldas or whatever, but you know, it would be somewhere in the middle for sure of like the better Zeldas. But it is pretty good, and it's certainly a lot better than Ages and Skyward Sword and those Zeldas that I just can't stand. So, I mean, you know, Ages was like a somewhat I could stand, but there was some problems. There were some big flaws. You know, Skyward Sword is like one I literally cannot stand. We will see how that changes, and especially with the HD version once I get there. But I'm gonna give this game an 8.2 out of 10, and yeah, so it's solid. That's what I've got to say about it. And a pretty good GBA game. I liked it back in the day a lot. I have some good memories with the game, but it's not the one that I'm just gonna jump right to and be like, this is the best Zelda game, or like, is it a little bit underrated? Yeah, maybe. I could see that, like, being a little bit underrated for sure. It's certainly one you should play before like Oracle of Ages or something. You play this in seasons for sure. Yeah, cool. It's a good game, and I enjoy it. So 8.2 out of 10. Until next time, with Twilight Princess, and maybe a few games in between there. I'm actually gonna like take a little bit of a break from the Zelda series, so I don't burn out on it. You know, like, we're kind of at the end of the 2D era. Oh shit, I forgot about Link Between Worlds. So, okay, so here's what we have left. So we got Twilight Princess left, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Skyward Sword, gross. Then A Link Between Worlds, and then Breath of the Wild. So we got 6 Zelda games left. I forgot about Link Between Worlds when I was talking earlier with my friend Mayab there. So that's a good one. I'm actually looking forward to that one. Out of all of those, that's actually the one I'm probably looking forward to the most, because it's actually probably my favorite of all of those. So it'll be interesting to replay Twilight Princess. I only ever played it the one time when it came out. I do remember liking parts of it, and then other parts were like, you know, like whatever. Like, so it's highly spoken of, and but I do want to take a little bit of a detour so I don't get burnt out on Zelda, because we've already done Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Link to the Past, Ocarina, Majora, and the 2 Oracle games, and the Minish Cap. That's 8 games, actually. I was thinking it was only like 6 games. That's 8 games. That's a lot. And I've pretty much been playing Zelda nonstop since like November or January or something, outside of Legends Arceus, which I did take a little detour for. But that was a healthy detour, and it helped me get back into Zelda again. So I think I'm going to do that again, and cover a little bit of a different series for a second. You know, 2 games in that series. I'm not gonna go bananas on it, but I made a promise to somebody, so I'm gonna keep that, because I'm getting Persona 4 into hands again, because, you know, that's a great game and everyone needs to play that game. So for that, I pay a price of playing 2 games, and we'll review that one next time. So until then, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games. I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ